Blog Talk Radio.
The motherfucking saga continues.
Yo, what's up, world? It's badass thuggin' like I usually do, and you better turn it up, bust some speakers out, cause we off the motherfucking cuff. You dig how we do it? Dogtown Gangsters 2000 and beyond. Blech.
What's up with it, y'all? Man, don't change that down. This your player partner, the legendary Cocaine. And you tuned in live to Off the Cuff Radio. Better not touch that down.
Yeah, this is Cassidy, the hustler. And right now, you listening to the Guillotine. Show them the respect they deserve, man. Off the Cut Radio, man. Y'all already know how they doing it, man. I need y'all to stay tuned. They've been doing it for years, so show them the respect they deserve. And you heard it out of bars, man. Easy.
Keep it moving like this. Yo, this your boy Rampage. You're not rocking with the best. With Off the Cuff Radio. Classic. History. Fix your face to all you haters. We off the cuff, baby.
What's up, everybody? This your girl, Bonnie Dollars, the Queen of Trap, representing Crenshaw, and you are now tuned in with Off the Cuff Radio. What's up? What's up, y'all? This is Miss Irresistible, giving a shout out to the live show on Friday nights, Off the Cuff Radio, and I'm live from the 704.
Yeah. Live and direct. Off the Cuff Radio, episode 682 underway. I'm your host, King Eric, the media assassin. And this show is sponsored by Buddy Boy Entertainment, Screwball Radio, which you can catch every Saturday night, 9 p.m. Eastern, 6 Pacific, 8 Central Time. Da Vinci Clothing. Got my host, T-Max, with the facts on the line.
What it do, y'all. Another tremendously terrific Thursday on the most outstanding of the freshest frequency on the internet, Off the Cuff Radio. Shout out to our co-host, Aspira Eli, Sandman, Lady Chinchilla, and of course, DJ Sincere Dirty Basement Radio up in New York. We are ready to give you another tremendous time of the most stimulating, scintillating, and scholarly conversations. With our guest tonight, shout out to Reggie Wright. We had him on the show last year. We appreciate so much you. This man we have with us tonight guesting is a very, very special guest. This man is the epitome of hip hop. He is the essence of perseverance and business savvy. He is a veteran of the music industry for over 30 years plus. And his stories are historic. They are incredible. They are indelible. And he is also connected to one of the greatest groups ever, coming out of Hollis, Queens, Run DMC, and being the personal manager of the late, great Jam Master Jay. And he, in addition to him being with us to tell us about his story, he's here to clear the air about all the rumors, speculation, hearsay, and conjecture going on with Mr. Mizell's passing. We want to get him in right away because there's a lot to talk about. We got to get to it. Ladies and gentlemen, without further ado, the honorable, the most humble, the outright awesome Trini Washington. Welcome to the show.
So thank you for having me, man. AKA producer extraordinaire Trinidad. I just wanted to say that Off the Cuff Radio is the next level in the culture of hip hop.
and keeping it solid and keeping it what hip hop is all about. And I appreciate you guys because y'all don't do the fluff. Y'all don't do the sensationalism. Y'all bring hip hop and keep hip hop culture 100. And I appreciate y'all for that.
No doubt.
Absolutely. And once again, thank you to Reggie for bringing this together. We couldn't do it without him. Um, Trini, your story is one of a mosaic of journeys. It's a tapestry of triumph, although tragedy comes in it, but it also shows the will to push and not only that, prosper and overcome. It's a lot to get to. Let's get to it. Tell everybody a bit about yourself.
Well, one thing I want to say, yeah, is thank you guys. And I think Reggie Wright, he's a part of hip hop culture as well. And a friend of
Absolutely.
mine,
Absolutely.
a friend of mine and my brother, and I appreciate him as well. Um, my thing is I look at hip hop as something that was supposed to be a means to an end as soon as it started. We look at the powers that be, and when we started, I call I love what Chuck D called us, the Beatles of hip hop, because when we first started out, my first love for hip hop was when literally I heard Starsky when he was rhyming live at the Fever, and then but it was like it wasn't commercialized, and then I heard Curtis Blow do his thing, and If I Ruled the World, and then that was, to me, that was like phenomenal, and then as a 13-year-old kid, after we left Hollis. And I was 13, we moved to 40 Projects, South Jamaica, Southside Jamaica, Queens. Shout out to 40 Projects. And and Grandmaster Vic was in the park behind my building at 10836. And he was DJing, and that was the first time I ever heard rappers rapping over beats, and it was incredible to me. And I didn't understand what was going on. I was, I think at the time it was Luther Vandross, it was Shalimar, and all these other things, but hip hop was not relevant. And so on the weekends I would go back and forth because when I grew up in Hollis, but was raised in 40 Projects. So I grew up in Hollis, Queens up until 13, and then moved to 40 Projects when my parents divorced. We moved to 40 Projects. And so I would go on to visit my dad in Hollis on the weekends, and I would run into Daryl, DMC. And so me and him would hang out, and then Joe would come down, DJ Run, Rev Run, and then he would come down, and we go to this building called a Castle, and D always had his big radio, and we'd be down at the building drinking 40s, and then I would be banging on garbage cans, and they would be rhyming. I never knew hip hop would take it to this level. Like Biggie said, I never thought hip hop would take it this far. I wasn't even thinking about hip hop. I didn't even know what hip hop was. It was just us rhyming over beats. So I'm banging on the garbage can in the alley at the Castle, what we call a Castle in Hollis, and D and Run is rhyming. I didn't know it. We didn't have a name for it at the time. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
Mm-hmm. When you think about everybody that was coming along, because you were with these guys as it actually began to develop when Russell, obviously with Rick Rubin, would subsequently create Def Jam, which was obviously Joseph, Reverend Run's brother. Take us through that journey, Trini, of when you actually began to see it come. And although Run DMC did not sign with Def Jam, they were Profile, but you all were still intermingled with everybody else. Bill Adler, Public Enemy, Rick Rubin. I mean, the list goes on. When you began to see the labels start to pick up the acts, what was it like in terms of realizing that not only was this wasn't just a niche, this wasn't a niche thing. This was like really becoming something that was beginning to really, really get out there, and people were taking this seriously as an art form.
Well, to me, to be honest with you, okay, so I'm 3 years younger than Daryl, Jay, and Joe. So I was 16 when It's Like That first popped off. And Daryl's walking down the block. I'm sitting on my friend Dexter's steps. and it's right on Hollis Avenue. And D lives around the corner from Dexter and live down the block from me. He's walking down the block with his radio and it's playing It's Like That. And so he's like, "Yo, what's up? What y'all doing? Come on." And we so of course when he says come on, because we go into the corner store on 190 was that 198th Street. We go into the corner store to pick up 40 dogs from Dolly's. And we go to 40, we pick up a case of 40 dogs, literally, and we walk down to the castle and we drinking beer and we listening to it and we like, yo, and I'm looking at Daryl like, yo, what's happening? Because we didn't talk about this. We didn't talk about they putting out records and all. We didn't talk about it. It wasn't talked about. We hung out all the time, but we didn't talk about. We didn't know what Daryl and Joe was doing in the basement. We didn't know it. You know what I'm saying? So so now it's playing on the radio, and he always got his big radio, and this is 1982, early 1983, and I'm like, it's like that, and that's the way. And I'm looking at Daryl like, yo, what is this? And he's like laughing. He's like, yo, Trent, no, we got a record out, Trent, and me and Joe, we doing this thing. Yo, Trent, we need a DJ. You DJ? And I'm like, no. And I'm looking at my friend Dexter, God rest Dexter Ford. He passed away. I'm looking at Dexter like, yo, Dexter's like, nah, Trent, I don't DJ. So now they walking around Hollis looking for DJs. Mm-hmm. And so I called my man Tony Lynch, because we used to go to my friend Tony Lynch's basement, and Tony Lynch had DJ equipment in his basement, and we would go in his basement. I didn't know exactly what it was. Like I said, this is all brand new, my dudes. So and Daryl and Joe's walking around Hollis asking people, yo, I'm looking for a DJ. Mm-hmm. And okay, so the story, as y'all know how the story goes, Jay was about the only one that would go in the park and put out equipment and plug it into the light switch and in the parks, and he would be out there DJing, and everybody knew Jay for that. But running Daryl and Joe, I'm sorry, I have to call him Running D, but Daryl and Joe was like walking around Hollis looking for a DJ. You know what I'm saying? And so that's when we knew it was going to the next level. To be honest with you, when Suck MCs came out, it was the same formula. We was like, yo, like the neighborhood was like, yo, what's going on? Like, we didn't understand what was going on. We just knew our dudes we hang out with on a regular basis was popping on the radio. Hot 92, KTU. We didn't know what was going on. And to be honest with you, to answer your question, when My Adidas came out, I think that's when we really felt like, oh snap, my dudes are stars. And I don't know if y'all probably know better than me, but Christmas in Hollis or My Adidas, I don't know which one came out first, but those are the two songs that really, it wasn't the Aerosmith Jump Off. No, it was before that. When we were like, and I'm talking about in the neighborhood where we was like, oh snap, Daryl and Joe are stars, and Jay, they stars now. It wasn't Rock Box. It wasn't none of that. It was My Adidas. And then I think it was either Christmas in Hollis. Those are the two, like, it was like they were everywhere.
But Rockbox, really, really was the jump off with a debut. You know what I'm saying? In 84.
It was, but I'm saying, I'm talking about like commercially, like that's like neighborhood. That's like neighborhood hot. But I'm talking about commercially over the top. My Adidas, they Daryl and Joe and Jay, they came back with big giant gold chains with Adidas with those shoestrings in them, solid gold. They had to make fake ones. They had to get fake ones to wear them every day because they were so heavy. They had not fake ones. I would say like they had solid gold ones from Adidas. They had to get hollow ones to wear on a regular basis because the ones they got from Adidas were so heavy and so strong.
And see, they were smart enough to capitalize off the commercialism. Because think about this. Those two songs had connotations to it. Number one, it was talking about Christmas. So that made it appeasable for a mainstream audience, as well as Adidas. So you had the corporation, the sneaker companies knocking the doors down. So they had two home runs.
Yeah, and they were the
exactly. First. And I believe those were Russell's like we need to do this. That was from the genius of Russell.
And that was and one thing about it with Russell, when you think, for our listeners out there who have to understand the history of Russell is the blueprint in terms of the business aspect of hip hop. Don't let anybody tell you different. All this shit you seeing everybody do now, what Dre doing, we mentioned Puffy outside of all the stuff that happened, but in terms of the business aspect with Puffy, every entrepreneur you have seen in hip hop today from a business perspective, E40, all those guys, Russell laid the blueprint for it. He when you think about it, Trini, also too with Run DMC, they were the first to secure actual endorsement deal with Adidas. I mean, they were the first rap act to do it. So this showed that Adidas was actually embracing the culture before it became fashionable to do so. What did that mean for the legitimization of not just rap music, because rap music is a piece of the culture, but hip hop culture in the sense now that this is slowly, it's not a global phenomenon yet, but it's in its nascent form and is setting the seeds. What did you see as it began to grow more?
For me, is what I seen was what I liked about it. What I liked about it is, to be honest with you, gentlemen, is Russell's authentication. Like, he's always been Russell. He never got commercial. He never let those corporate boardrooms change him. He always been Russell. You know what I'm saying? And so he always kept it authentic. He never let, he go in meetings with Adidas on it. He have a 2-piece suit on that cost $5,000, but he still had on his shell tops and his Yankee cap. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
And if you had the opportunity to be in his, I don't know if you guys ever had the opportunity to be around him. He's always authentic. You know what I'm saying?
He's I met him some years back.
Cornball. He's never fake. He's always like Russell. You know what I'm saying? And that's what made me always appreciate being around him. And I always felt comfortable, like like another big brother. Him and my older brother actually grew up together. But me and him, when I was around him, because I worked for him, I always got to, he always made me feel cool. Because even though he'll yell and scream and curse sometimes, it's cool because it's Russell. Because it ain't fake, And when the next level and that next wave was coming, it was more along the lines of, because like I said, Russell's told them, y'all need to make a song about y'all Adidas, man. Y'all wear them all the time. Everybody's wearing them. Y'all need to make a song. So they made the song. The song was a hit. And next thing you know, Adidas came calling. And of course, the next genius part of that would be like, hey, well, my guys are multi-platinum recording artists. We need to do some marketing. Let's work together. Let's build something. And then that's when they came with the Run DMC Adidas. I still got a pair actually. And then the next thing you know, those are leather Adidas suits. Like, yo, what? So it was like really crazy and really amazing. And still in awe, to be honest with you. It still was like all like, wow, this is really happening. The dudes was coming through with the jewelry and all that. It looked like the neighborhood drug niggas. That's that we knew. That's how niggas was rocking in the neighborhood. That's how Run and D and J would come through. It was it always was like stuff we was familiar with. Only thing was different was now, like Shine and Money and all that. That was natural. That's what we used to, because there was always dudes coming through the neighborhood like that, the fly cars and the jewelry and all that. But when you turn the radio on, you watch you watch Soul, what was that, Soul Train, or you watched American Bandstand, or something like that. You was like, oh, whoa, this ain't no drug dealer stuff. Then we on the next level. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. And when you're seeing the African American experience from hip hop, and we can't, leave our brown brothers and sisters out. When you see that shared cultural phenomenon come in the 80s, early 80s, we're seeing it begin to come. Like you mentioned, Soul Train. A lot of people forget that Don Cornelius, in terms of it, he had his hand in the culture too, because he was the first Black man to own his own show in terms of getting it nationally syndicated. So we're seeing this now come more and more with the elements of dance, music, and fashion becoming more and more prevalent. you having a job in the industry in terms of working around it, what did you find in terms of what it meant to be committed to it and the responsibilities that you were entrusted to starting out?
In what aspect?
Like you said, working for Russell, just learning the day-to-day business in terms of, how
Fashion?
record negotiation. Yes, sir. Fashion. If you were sitting in the meetings in terms of how record contracts are
Oh,
being
okay.
discussed, or just that type of thing.
Oh, okay. For me, it to me being around, I would say, like, I would have to start it out with being around Jason. When I was with Daryl and Joe, it was more along the lines of friends and and being on stage with them, and they would throw their mink coats to me when we was at Madison Square Garden, and it was wintertime. But when it was around Jay was more of a business mind. And so Jay and Russell were more business minded in the aspect of the business aspect of the game. Like, in other words, looking at the next level of it. And so being around Jay, it was more along the lines of, that's why I called him my mentor, because I would be around Jay and he would tell me things. Like, I would say, hey, yo, Jay, like, I'm just giving y'all an example. This is kind of personal, but I'm letting y'all know. I'm like, yo, Jay, when I was his DJ manager. I wasn't Run DMC's manager. I was his DJ manager. So it's two separate situations. They had a manager for the Run DMC, and I was his DJ manager when Run DMC finished the show in a city. What my job was find the biggest venue, club or whatever, the hottest club in whatever city where they were doing the show in, and I would get him to do a DJ show in that city. That was my job. And so when I'm talking to him, and I'm like, yo, Jay, you the biggest like DJ in the world. Like, can I like look for endorsements for you? Can I do like certain things for you? And he was like, sure, go ahead. Yeah, do it. And I'm like, so what should I do? Just all you do is let them know you're Jam Master Jay's DJ manager, and you're looking for an endorsement for me, and let me know what they say. Like, he would do stuff like that, and then I would come back and I would tell him. He would like guide me through the process. Because I'm like, Jay, like he told me, because he told me when you go down south, because I was leaving New York and I was going to Atlanta. He was like, okay, when you go, I'll never forget it. He was on the Trinitron keyboard doing the beat. And I said, yo, Jay, I'm leaving. I'm at that studio where he was assassinated at, God rest Jay. I was leaving that studio, and I was like, yo, I went in there and knocked on the door, and he was in there on the Trinitron. And I said, yo, Jay, I'm leaving. I'm going to Atlanta. He was like, all right, well, you're going to be my DJ manager. I'm like, Jay, I don't know how to be no DJ manager. What are you talking about? Because I was leaving. I was his studio manager first. If you ever watched the Netflix Who Killed Jam Master Jay, and I was talking, I was his DJ manager first. So now I'm leaving, and I'm moving to Atlanta. And I was telling him this, and he was like, all right, well, when you get down south, you're going to be my DJ manager. You're going to put all my DJ shows together. I said, Jay, I don't know how to do that. He was like, yeah, don't worry about it. I'm going to show you. And I'm like, all right, Jay. And he gave me the fist bump, and I left. And that was it. So he always guided me through business, and Russell was different, because Russell was more like a person you just had to like watch him, just run with him. Watch him, listen to him on the phone, be around him. That's how Russell was. He wasn't the one that's going to tell you anything. You be around him and watch him, how he deal with people. He was more like a politician. But he was raw. He didn't care if you was Bill Clinton or you was the CEO of Microsoft, Bill Gates. He treated everybody the same. And he still talked to them and saying, yo, fuck you. Yo, that's some bullshit. Yo, let's get this money together. He was always raw and just direct. That's how Russell always was. But you just had to be around him. He wasn't going to just sit around him and ask questions. No, you had to be with him. He'd just be like, yo, come on, hop in the car. But Jay was more along the lines of, go do it. You have any questions, let me know along the way. And then when you finish, Jay would laugh and go, yeah, I told you. Yo, Jay, we got $1 million. I know, I told you. Y'all still there?
Hold on. Yeah, I'm here. I'm here. We had a
Oh,
little
okay.
technical difficulty, but I'm here. Yeah. But I was listening. Yeah, man. So I mean, so you're getting this. You're getting all of this on the fly. So did you really understand the significance, Trini, of what this was in terms of not only were you working in this, but you would be part of one of the greatest groups ever in terms of the impact? Did you all know what was coming ahead with this?
To be honest with you, no. It was more to me. It was more along the lines of it was like trial and error. I mean, if you think
Mm-hmm.
about it, you think about early days, Daryl and a couple of the bandmates getting in the fights in the clubs and uh, Run, Joe getting in the problems with the girls and the rape case around the same time Mike Tyson got caught with that situation, and
Mm-hmm.
then the drugs and the lung collapse for Run and Daryl, with the alcohol problem and going in the hospital, and Jay getting caught with the tax situation. The tax situation is something totally different because to me, that never really was legitimate. Jay with the
Right.
tax situation, but that was like further down the line. But nah, we was more like just young guys loving music, loving hip hop, like to be fly, and we love music, and we were just enjoying the like it was sort of like everything was just coming out of nowhere. It was like just something that sort of like a like my mother would say, like it was predestined. Like God just, or like it was just like you're on a red carpet with God. It was just automatic stuff that was just happening. You know.
That's real, man. And when you think about it, when you were breaking down all of this, this is during a time. Shout to John Blasingame, of course, of Right On and Word Up Magazine, who was the first hip hop publisher. This is where we're beginning to see the magazines begin to cover it. It's like we're watching all of this in real time. This is before social media. So it's like y'all really had to get out on the grind doing this. And getting the news, interviews from, the outlets and everything. Uh when did you all know that you really had something like this was huge and nothing was ever going to be the same again?
I would say when Jay and Rick Rubin, um, when Rick Rubin, actually he was a genius. When Rick Rubin
Mm-hmm.
came across that, because he did a lot of rock and stuff. When him and Russell started Def Jam, he did a lot of rock stuff, and he was another one that was like he was a genius when it came to music, incorporating music because like that's one thing I pride myself on as a producer as well is my mom and dad was like 10 years apart in age. So
Mm-hmm.
my dad was into Johnny Mathis and Sarah Vaughan, and my mother was into Motown, and she introduced me to Rod Stewart, and she introduced me to the Rolling Stones, and Stevie Wonder. So my mom was like really versatile, and then she had the love for Shirley Caesar and Reverend James Cleveland. My mom was so versatile with her music, and so when I got to be around Rick Rubin and his genius, and then Jay was another one that was like he didn't let nothing. He didn't involve himself with limits. So when Daryl and Joe was like, nah, they didn't want to do that walk this way thing, and Jay was he always been the glue. He always been the glue. Like Jay, make no mistake about it, is the glue to Run DMC. So when Jay was like, yo, nah, we should do it. Do this song. I'm gonna hype up the beat a little bit, make it more hip hop, and we should do it. And so Daryl and Joe was like, nah, because they wanted to, they were caught up in, they liked the hip hop. They wanted to be in hip hop. They didn't feel like that was hip hop. So Jay talked them into it, and they did Walk This Way. And once Walk This Way blew up, and all the awards and everything started coming out, and it just exploded. The tours, everything. It just
Man.
went the commercial level down. Now officially, they are the Beatles of hip hop. Now officially. So now everything comes behind them. The Jay-Z's, the Biggies, the Nas's, the Wu-Tang Clans, and I mean commercially, all the commercial artists, Eminem, Beastie Boys, everything coming behind them is getting all Dr. Dre, NWA, the Apple Beats with Dr. Dre, all these endorsements, everything comes behind Run DMC and that Walk This Way song.
We're not going to argue because you're absolutely right.
That including the endorsements with my Adidas. Nobody was doing shoe deals.
Exactly. Yeah. So if we got G-Unit sneakers, and he's mad at Tony Ayo because they supposed to be getting another one, and you got Sean Carter's, and you had all these different sneaker deals for these dudes, but nobody, even Pharrell and Missy Elliott, nobody ever, in all honesty, much as I love all of them when we just mentioned, nobody's never took a sneaker to the next level as Run DMC did with Adidas. Still to this day, actually. I got like 30 pairs of shells in my closet right now, every flavor.
Man, what you figure Adidas back in the day, you had, I mean, there are three levels of royalty. You have the Stan Smith, the Rod Lavers, and the Run DMCs. I mean, that's the Adidas shoe royalty right there.
Yes, sir.
When you think about that whole time, this is Run DMC releases 2 albums, back to back, 1984 and 85. So you have also that same year, LL drops his debut. A year later, 86, Beastie Boys, License to Ill. I mean, Public Enemy, Yo Bum Rush the Show, 1987. I mean, this is literally kicking off what a lot of this is what literally the historians would call the first golden era of hip hop. To see that level of creative force, the level of expression, when we're looking at crossover success, of course, Fab Five Freddy and Blondie with Rapture is considered the first crossover song, which definitely, introduced it. But Walk This Way with Aerosmith, Joe Perry, Steven Tyler, Brad Whitford, all those guys. I mean, this turns it into a phenomenon. Like, hip hop is here to stay now. What did you learn more and more about the business in terms of it being legitimized and how these deals were done in terms of how people wanted the representation of it to be from a corporate level?
From a corporate level, I looked at it as more along the lines of Run DMC set the blueprint, and and to be in all honesty, because of Joe, because of AKA Rev Run, DJ Run, brother being Russell Simmons, who ran Rush Management, who managed majority of these artists you just mentioned. Joe created the blueprint on how he wanted the management part of it to be structured. However, Profile Records, they signed to Profile Records before Rush Management started. So therefore, they were already locked in to the record part of it. However, on the management side of it, that's where Russell was able to help them to accumulate wealth. The record side of it, it was based on record sales. But the management side, because of their level of success with Profile, they were able to have commercial wealth because of the fact of their record sales. So Russell was able to accommodate them in that aspect to build revenue in different aspects as far as commercially. And so with that, he was able to sign a lot of artists like Fresh Prince and Jazzy Jeff was part of Russell's. They was under Russell. Eric B. Rakim, LL Cool J. A lot of the new artists that came into the game was under Rush Management. And that's where we got, the next level. We had the next level, a lot of the interns and so on and so forth, like Chris Lighty, God rest him, and all that. They all was part of Rush Management. So they all they all started branching off, doing their own thing as the years passed on. But commercially, because of the revenue that Run DMC created, especially with Raising Hell, and they had, I think, the first album, Run DMC, the first album, the self-titled album, went gold, and then I think not Down with the King of Rock, that I think that went gold as well, or platinum. And then from Raising Hell was the first multi-platinum album, and so the commercial success of those created a whole other avenue for all these other artists to come on, and the record labels, the major record labels that were turning everybody down, now they're signing, and a lot of independents came out of it too, because they were getting turned down by major record labels. They was creating their own labels and signing artists. And so that's where Russell with Rush Management was able to capitalize off of the commercial success of Run DMC and with other artists.
Yo, I mean, for our sports heads out there as well as hip hop heads, y'all got to understand the history that Trini is giving right now. Chris Lighty, I mean, all these people that were on Rush Management. This is like Bill Walsh, the late great Bill Walsh, and the coaching tree that he gave. Shanahan, Holmgren, rest in peace to Dennis Green. Everybody that came off of that tree in the San Francisco 49er dynasty. I mean, when you have that type of tutelage and learning, I'm speechless. Okay. So Run DMC bats 80 million home runs with 3 straight albums in succession, 84, 85, 86, that are all super successful. Tell us about when the first tour hits, in terms of when now we're taking the show on the road.
Well, when the first tour hits, it was kind of amazing, because it was never done before, a hip hop tour. So you got Houdini, you got L Cool J, you have Run DMC, you have Public Enemy. You have a lot of these artists that have never been on tour before with Run DMC, and they go on tour, and they are doing incredible numbers, and they're doing like
Fresh Fest. Yeah, the Fresh Fest.
Right. They're doing incredible numbers. And then Run DMC was asked to be part of Live Aid around that same time of the tour, and they were the only rap group invited to the Live Aid concert. And so they go to do Live Aid, and that's where you hear Run say at Live Aid. I mean, Daryl say at Live Aid, the poor got paid. That was, they went and did Live Aid, and they were the first rap groups to ever do it. And it was like internationally, all around the world. And that was like another level of like, whoa, Michael Jackson status, It was incredible, and a lot of money was made. And so now commercially, there's a lot of record executives breaking off at this time. Steve Stout, a lot of record executives was breaking off from record labels to start their own agencies to capitalize off of hip hop, to make it more commercial for them to sign artists to their company, where they can commercialize the music, commercialize the image and likeness to Kentucky Fried Chicken, to McDonald's, to all these different levels of commercialization, where hip hop is now on another level. Now you got Run DMC doing Lee's commercials and different things like that. They branching off to do all these different things now with hip hop, to make it mainstream now, because it's undeniable. And so now a lot of people are just leaving record labels, these executives, and starting their own agencies to license the image and likeness of these rappers.
That level of empowerment, what did that mean? Because you have a lot of times where you have people who try to hold people back from pursuing their entrepreneurial endeavors. What did that mean for you to see that Russell and all of you collectively were encouraging everybody to get out there and be like, yo, you've learned from us, go chase this, go do it, go out and get for yourself. What did that mean for you to see how, for that level of empowerment and support?
In all honesty, it from my standpoint, it's more along the lines of who the individual is, because a lot of individuals don't want you to leave them because you're making them successful,
right?
Or they
right.
don't want you to leave because it's beneficial to them. And so it depends on the individual, because when Jay was a very visionary individual. He met April Walker, which is part of
the
Walker
Queen
yes.
of fashion. Yes.
He met her and they started talking about doing business together. And if you look with the Down with the King cover, you see that was the first imprint of her commercial success, with Jay wearing the Walker wear, the hat and the jacket and the pants on the cover of Down with the King album cover. And he became a partner with her. And he was realizing that the next level of hip hop is not only just music, it's culture. And so he wanted to go to the next level with it. But unfortunately, financially, he wasn't able to do it because of the demand was so high. And he wasn't able to go to the next level. But after conversations, he wasn't able to take it to the next level. However, it did reach a certain peak, but that was like the open door for like Fat Farm and Carl Kanai and Fubu and everybody else to start doing clothing lines. And then eventually what Russell did, because he was so successful with Fat Farm, he was able to start licensing fashion lines to different artists, and they were able to start their own clothing lines like Rockaware and Sean John and all these different other companies through Fat Licensing, because of Russell and because of the visionary attributes of Jam Master Jay.
Okay, we're like dumbfounded.
And I was gonna say too, man, that goes to show you how ahead of the time and how ahead of the curve Jay really was, man. Because Run DMC is more trailblazers than people credit for. That's why we wanted to bring you on the show, man. Because everybody wants to give, the Rockefellers and the Sean Johns and all that credit, but Jay was ahead of the curve when it comes to implementing fashion. And
yes,
it's great to have you on to talk about that.
Yes, sir.
When we look at all those fashions during that time, when you think about it, 2 black guys from Toronto, the aforementioned Carl Kanai, Walkerwear, Cross Colors. This was literally a revolution in terms of bold expression, unapologetic, blackness, a level of we just saw arguably what do I want to say? I would say probably between the years of In Earnest, probably the late 80s to the mid 90s, we saw that fashion zenith, and you all directly influenced that. When you think about everything you all did in that, how does it feel looking back today and be like, and not just somebody who's just saying it, as a spectator, but as actual participant, to sit back puffing, on that good green and say, damn, we really did this shit?
To be honest with you, I look back at it and I say, I feel like, in business, in all aspects, a smart businessman, you build a company to make it successful, to build generational wealth for you and your children and your grandchildren and great-grandchildren, right? But at the end of the day, you want to make sure it lands in the hands, when you sell it, it lands in the hands of people that's going to maintain your vision, because it's important to build something that people can be inspired to be a part of. So you don't want to sell it. Okay, so I started a company with $5 million with investors and so on and so forth. Now it's worth $500 million, and I got a big giant company that's worth $30 billion and wants to buy it, and they buy it, but now it's shut down and nobody ever sees it again or hears from it again, or it's never around again. But I took a $10 million company and made $490 million. I don't know, dude. How do you balance that? Because my objective is, of course, you want to build a company that's going to be successful, and you want to sell it because you want to build generational wealth. But do you want it to just disappear? You know, like, so it's like it's like a catch-22. It's I'm asking y'all that. How do you balance that? Because you do want to build generational wealth. You do want wealth. You came from nothing. You came from a middle-class family and so on. And mom and dad divorced, and and now it's a funny style. And now you just was able to, because of the grace of God, you was able to build a culture and turn it into something. And now big corporations that turned you down when you didn't have nothing, now they offering you $490 million. And
King,
now, but you know what's going to happen to it. It's going to disintegrate. It's never going to be seen again. But you made $490 million.
Right. King, you want to go ahead and answer that first before I answer? Okay. I think he's a little preoccupied. It's okay. Before I get my answer, shout to Sandman. What's up, man? Great to see you with us. Thank you so much. Designer My Shoe Podcast. Thank you so much for joining in with us. Where's Mulano? We appreciate you so much joining in on us. We appreciate all of you listening who are not in the queue. But if you're not in the queue, please give your commentary. Please join in the discussion on the live chat. What you said, Trini, you're inquisitive, is a very intellectual. It is a very, very, very thought-provoking one. When you build a business, you're thinking about when you're thinking about a business, the first thing you're hoping is that you find your audience to where you can begin to profit. Once you begin to make profit, then you're able to scale in terms of where that facilitates expansion. The business itself becomes your baby because you're seeing it in the gestation period of how you're really bringing it all together through all the DNA of your hard work, blood, sweat, and tears. There's nothing greater than to see it grow. Sometimes you do have the tenacity where you want to keep moving with it and you want to be able to, hold on. And sometimes once you've made the money and you feel like, I don't want the responsibility of having to do the day-to-day anymore, which is this is what people don't understand, Trini, and you know this as well as we do in terms of entrepreneurship. Entrepreneurship, there is no greater freedom than being your own boss. But it's understanding that this takes a lot of work, understanding, having the discipline and the foresight to maintain, to be present, doing things in the foundation that it will benefit later. And then ultimately making something last. Nobody understands the vision of it like you do from when you create.
Yeah, it's a whole lot to go into it, man. It's a lot. It's not just you sitting on the phone and you just telling people what to do all day. Right? It's like you gotta wear so many hats. You gotta wear. Yeah. You gotta be the big brother. You gotta be the daddy. You know what I'm saying? You gotta be the assistant manager. You gotta be the coach. You gotta be the guidance counselor. You gotta be the mental health counselor. It's a whole lot of that goes into it.
And when we look at some of the great rap labels at that time, and we're just having a general discussion, anything that we say, disclaimer, it's not about shading anybody, but it's just showing how things change. When you look at Master P, when he started No Limit years ago in Richmond, California, shout out to the Bay Area, he started off with a record store, $10,000 investment, into it, from a life insurance policy with his grandfather passing. When you think about Puffy in terms of when he, with Bad Boy, how he was assigned to run that division, the black music, urban black music.
Right. My thing is, at the end of the day, is I mean, if I'm looking at it from a standpoint of what y'all talking about, it makes a lot of sense because I mean, really, in all reality, if I build a company and from $10 million and I'm offered 490 million, well, 500 million actually, but 490 million in profit from what I built. I'm going to take that. I'm going to take that shot. And at the end of the day, with that 490 million, there's a lot of other things I could do to inspire the community versus me not selling.
Right.
And, you know, so, I mean, it makes sense what y'all saying, but I just always wanted to like look at things from another standpoint because a lot of times the same people that's buying my company for 490 million didn't even want to even let me in the door. Didn't even want to take my phone call before hip hop popped off.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? So now, what is y'all goal now? Y'all gonna take my company, and what you gonna do? You're just gonna like sort of like what they say in the record label when you're not a hot artist, put you on the shelf. Just put it on the shelf. You know what I'm saying? Because we worth 40 billion. We just gonna put it on the shelf, and whatever happens to it, happens to it. We just don't want it around no more, and we don't want them living next door to us no more. You know what I'm saying? But what y'all saying does make a lot of sense. That 490 million, I could do a lot more for the culture.
Yeah, it's kind of like
Look
that. You don't
Johnson.
want to have. I was about to build on that. You don't want to have like seller's remorse. When you have seller's remorse, that means like you selling your baby, you selling your vision, you selling what our people could benefit off of in exchange for an X amount of greenbacks to a bunch of people that don't understand culture, that don't understand us, or just like you said, won't even look at us in the street. So now you see Bob Johnson, just like T-Map was gonna say, he's trying to buy BET back, but now it's like it don't have no value in it like it used to have. Now it would have worked 15 years ago, but they done squeezed all the whole lemon drop out of it.
Yeah, Viacom. Viacom.
Yeah. I remember that was what over 25 years ago when he sold it. And mind y'all, this is early 2000s money, and he sold it for what, $3 billion. We are all old. Yeah, we were all old enough to live through the original BET program. And shout out to Bev Smith.
Yeah, we just building off what he said. It's just we seen BET at its greatness. We talk about Midnight Love, we talk about Teen Summit, we talk about Rap City, 106 and Park, Cleo's World. You know, it had a great balance.
Yeah.
I don't know, but they stripped everything from BET. You don't even recognize it anymore.
And God rest Irv Gotti. I kind of like when he was doing that thing he was doing with his thing with turning music videos into like actually short stories. I forgot what they called it, but that was pretty cool. He was taking rap songs and making them into actually little movies. I forgot what the name of it was, but it was awesome.
It was called Tales.
Yeah, that was hot. That was really hot on BET.
He's another one from Queens who I don't think people really give. You know, they look at the issues in terms of, you know, Murder Inc. versus 50 and that whole situation. But we have to give Irv his flowers, rest in peace, man, because he really, really, really did a lot, man, in terms of, you know, in terms of that entrepreneurship. You know, I mean, there are just so many that have come along that way. When you all started making that money, and it was ridiculous money, it was crazy money, it's mind-blowing, life-changing money, and this is the 80s. How did y'all control yourselves in the Reagan era of economics and what was going on at that time? Oh my God.
I mean, in all reality, like I said, so at 16 years old, Run D and J, they 18 years old when That's Like That came out. I'm 16, they 18. But I used to hang with Daryl mostly because Daryl lived across. I lived on 197th Street and Hollis Avenue, and Jay and D lived on 197th Street on the other side of Hollis Avenue. So we used to meet in the middle and go to my friend Dexter's house, who passed away. God rest Dexter 40, and we would hang out together. And all three of us. And Daryl, you knew Daryl was coming because he would come out the house with the big ass box. And so we go right down the block to we was on 197, go down one block to the Castle. We call the Castle. It's in I think it's in the Raising Hell album. You see them on the back of the album cover. That's where they at. They in the Castle, and they all around the Castle. They took all the photos. Raising Hell album at the Castle, and that's where me and Daryl and Joe used to hang out with Dexter and a couple of our friends from Hollis. And one thing, you know, as you get older, cocaine was how Richard Pryor said cocaine was a. Can I curse on here?
Yes, you can.
Cocaine was a motherfucker. So now we got
stories.
We got money. We got money now. You know what I'm saying? So so it was plenty of cocaine. I mean, and them vials, you know, them vials used to put like film in back in the day. A lot of young people probably don't know what the fuck we talking about, but back in the day, you put the film in a little vial thing, and that shit was big though, but it was small, but it was like the size of a medicine bottle for your medicine, and full of cocaine and plenty of weed and it was party all the time. It was, you know, we was partying all the time. That fake ass Eddie Murphy song, we was partying all the time. And that's what was going on, man. It was party all the fucking time, nonstop. Ooh. You know what I'm saying? So that was us. You know, that's what we was doing. We enjoying the success, and you know, of course, comes with success. It's the women and all of that. But most of the time, it was more like the women. We kind of, in those days, in the early days of Suck MCs and it's like that, it was more like the girls from the neighborhood. We always had girlfriends. So it wasn't like niggas had like 1,000 different girls and all that kind of shit. We kind of stuck to our girls. You know what I'm saying? The girls we had from the neighborhood, they kind of was with us from the beginning, and so we stuck with them, you know, and had kids with them and things like that. But the cocaine's a hell of a fucking drug, and a lot of weed and a lot of beer, and yeah, that was the early days when the money was coming in, and clothes and all that kind of shit was free. Adidas just gave us shit, so you didn't have to pay for no sneakers, you didn't have to pay for no warm-up suits. We should have had a deal with Kango. That's what next time I see Russell, I need to talk to him about that. Why the fuck we didn't get a deal with Kango? Because fucking we walk Kangos.
Right. This is the element that a lot of people don't really know in terms of where beneath all the glamour and glitz, there's a lot of temptation where you have a lot of money. So obviously everything's available for you all. And like you said, there was a lot of things y'all partook in. When you're looking at artists today, when you make the comparison to how y'all were back in the day and what you're seeing artists are doing today, do you see a similarity in the indulgence or do you see a difference?
I see a difference because when back in the day, more like with us, it was more like experimental. It was more like, you know, yo, this is what they doing. Let's see what this is about. And then we always had like older artists around us because we did a lot of tours with like dudes before us, like Grandmaster Flash and Furious 5, Curtis Blow, KRS-One, Boogie Down. We did a lot of like shows and stuff with a lot of artists that was a little older than us. And and so you would get a lot of information. And you know, like a lot where they failed at and where they should have did and what they shouldn't have did. They would just hang out with us because we was young people and they liked being around the young superstars and so you would get a lot of information on what's not to do and what you should do. You know what I'm saying? And like some of the times we was touring with like people that wasn't even in hip hop, like Evelyn Champagne King, and we touring with Rick James, and we touring with God rest Luther Vandross, and with, you know, like a lot of disco people, Atlantic Star, and all that kind of stuff. We touring with people because not because it was because we was the only real hip hop superstars, and these were R&B superstars. But there was not. We were the only hip hop superstars. There was no other rap group that was popping at the time. So when they put us on tour, when the promoters were putting us on tour, they were putting us on tour with the hot artists. And so a lot of times we would be on tour with these people, and like they would be giving you information like, "Yo, cocaine is like Richard Pryor said, cocaine is a motherfucker. Don't fuck with it." You know what I'm saying? And we like, well, damn, we just got off the tour bus with that shit. You know what I'm saying? So they like, so it was like you getting information, like, oh shit. Yo, we don't want to run our lives. You know what I'm saying? So they got a tour now. We got millions, and they still got a tour, and they've been in the game 10 years, and they don't have shit. So you start learning from these people, and they teach you things. And then like with today's artists,
I mean,
I don't think that. Go ahead. Go ahead. Well,
go ahead, please.
With today's artists, I don't see they don't even respect Run DMC. They don't respect LL Cool J. They don't even respect artists that came before them. You know what I'm saying? So we were always respectful. We were respectful to these older, because that's what we was raised. We originally from Hollis, Queens. We were raised to respect elders. So when these older people are talking to us and just spending time with us, we just appreciate if they even talking to us. Like, yo, when they leave the room, we like, yo, that was Atlantic Star. You know, like we happy that they even talk to us. You know what I'm saying? That was Rick James. We were so fucking happy. We were so respectful. But then with these new people, they don't even respect the people that came before them. So they don't even have no respect. They don't understand. I don't understand where we went wrong and with those generations, but they all they care about is killing each other. It's not like they don't even respect hip hop from where the conception. You know what I'm saying? And that's where I think the disconnect comes, where they ODing left, right, and center. I don't know how many artists I don't read about that OD, these young new artists and the gang violence and all. They don't have no concept of what they're doing. They're like they're walking dead. They have no concept of the music, of what it's about, anything, where it comes from, the culture, everything. That's why you have to give respect to the young artists like Dave East and J. Cole and Kendrick Lamar. And The Game. Those are the artists you have to give them the respect. Because they stayed in touch with the history of hip hop and the culture, and that's why they're able to sustain their careers. But these new ones, they here today, gone tomorrow, is because they don't respect the history, and that's what we did. We respected the history, and that's why we won't OD, we won't shoot each other, we won't kill each other. It's very rare, but now it's like an everyday occurrence.
Well, what they did, one of the most strategic things that they did was, for starters, and this is the way of cutting out understanding of musical history, with these ridiculous sampling laws, because now you can't really sample. You're not going to have cultural understanding on where the music come from, because even through hip hop, I discovered a lot of artists just by sampling, just by some of the samples that I've heard. So you cut that aspect off. Then you have these people that get put in positions not understanding music, not understanding Black culture, not understanding hip hop culture, but only understand analytics, only understand numbers and views. They're getting put in the positions that Russell and them used to be in. So now they're going to follow the algorithm. They're not following what post is keeping the music going.
Yeah, and that's so true. I so totally agree with you what you just said, because I look at it from a standpoint of I stay in touch with the industry. I pay attention to analytics. I pay attention to everything that's going on in the music industry, and mainly because of hip hop. And what I've realized is hip hop is at least 75% or maybe 60% of the revenue that's created in the music industry. However, I would say like 45% of it is from music we're talking about. The other 10 or 15% or 20% is from the new music. That's Drake. That's Dave East. That's Kendrick Lamar. That's the Nicki Minaj. That's the new artists. You know what I'm saying? And then there's a very small percentage that was these little Fulio Coolios and Arrest Him and all these other little artists, that's Little Dirk and Young Von and all these people that's killing each other on a regular basis. That's them. That's their music. And now, I believe last year, what I realized was hip hop is not in the top 100 music charts at all this year, 2025 to 2026 at all. And that's never been done in the last 40 years. It's because of the music is not the same quality. And like you said, there's these people put in charge to run these labels because they were interns and they sustained their position as interns and they were able to just walk into the door. I think there should be people like KRS-One and Big Daddy Kane and LL Cool J and all these major people that in the industry that's been around for a while. They should be running these certain labels that like I would these Cisco and from Drew Hill, like major people should be running R&B and the dudes from Jodeci. Some of these major dudes should be running the. I'll be sure they should be running urban music, and it shouldn't be interns that had know nothing about the culture, know nothing about the music, should be running these labels, because all they're doing is dragging the labels down. But at the end of the day, it's all about revenue. And then when I'm looking at the revenue profits, they're still making record numbers of profit. Can y'all explain that part to me? After, how they making record numbers of profit? But the music they're putting out is not. I look at it. My thing is, I want to make today's classics. I want to make the next Motown. I want to make the next. I know we can't do it, but I want to make it as close as possible. The next Michael Jackson, the next Prince. I want to be as close as possible to these people with new music. What are they doing now, and how are they still making major profits?
I think what it is too is another thing. You remember how the artists back in the day, they could not be manipulated. We remember the story of Ice Cube going in with the bats and bashing those plaques up in priority office until he got his money. They don't want that type of conflict anymore. So what they do is they go ahead, they find these guys that are peeled out, leaned out, smoked out, sign up the 360 deal. They get in trouble. They either get in trouble, they go to prison, they get killed, take their publishing. Next up, sign the same one. You don't want people that have cultural understanding, and know where the profit is going and get put in that position to really take charge. So that's what they do. They purposely sign people to manipulate them.
And one thing you're looking at it too, and King is absolutely right on this, to further elaborate on that, what you said, Trini, earlier about how when y'all would go on tour with the older artists back in the day, there was a sense of guidance, there was a sense of community. So with that wisdom accumulated between different generations of legends, those lessons were passed down, inherited through y'all. So you all understood the pitfalls because of those that came before you. They told you what was coming and how to avoid it. What I found so admirable was that they were so willing to share that with you. When you look at how that was going on at the time, Trini, what did it mean? How were tours coordinated back then in terms of, were there any logistical issues between labels, or was it pretty much they just asked people who wanted to come? Because I'm gonna get to the second part of my answer, but I want to ask you, how do they coordinate those tours? Because if y'all doing tours with R&B, that's big. But to see the diametrically different genres, but how it worked and people came out in droves, that's saying something. I don't even know if we could do something like that today, where you have a mix of R&B and hip hop tours, acts on a tour that would be successful. How are those things put together?
Yeah, I think basically what the promoters was doing was whatever was top 40, whatever was hot. And
Right.
they had the sponsors to put it together. And like I said earlier, Run DMC was the hottest ticket in town and the only rap ticket in town that was popping. So that was in the top 40, So you had Rockbox, you had the King of Rock, and and then you had Walk This Way, and then so they were like the hottest ticket in town. And then of course, if it's urban music, so the labels, they kept you in your genre. So if it was urban music until Walk This Way, they Run DMC was kept in the urban lane. So it was Rockbox and the King of Rock and Suck MCs, and it's like that. And so they kept you in a certain lane. And so with the certain lane, you were on tour with Rick James, Evelyn Champagne King, and Atlantic Star, you know what I'm saying, the Whispers, and y'all on tour together because y'all the hottest urban music going on at that time. Glenn Jones, whoever was the hottest artist at that time. And so that's what the promoters were putting together because they could sell it. And so, and then when Walk This Way came out, Run DMC was now to your crossover. Now we can put you with anybody. We can put you in a store with Rod Stewart. You know, y'all gone now. You know what I'm saying?
Oh,
So
wow.
that's how Walk This Way took Run DMC to the next level. But before that, it was the promoters was putting wherever urban music was the top 40 in the urban department. That's how they were putting their tours together. So that's why Run DMC was the only rap act. There was no other rap acts before Run DMC. I mean, superstars. You know what I'm saying?
What a time to be alive, because my God, I mean, just to see it, just new. My second part of your question is, and in addition to what King was saying, we got a lot of these young artists coming in who think they put themselves on. When we look at the advent of technology, with social media being the way that it is, these artists are coming in a game where back in the day, you really had to jump through the hoops. You had to send in a demo, you had to audition, y'all went through the A&R, y'all had to make sure y'all polished, and you're talking to about getting going into the studio to cut a song. Then, okay, now are we going to get a video behind it? Okay, now the video. All right, now the song and the video are doing well. Okay, let's talk about how we're going to go ahead and put an album together. There were stages and phases before you actually put out the finished product, and they made sure that before you did it, that the investment was wise, it was sound, and that it was going to, return on an investment, which is like any business venture, the music of business. What's happened now is that we have artists that are just putting out music in such a large volume, but no quality, which is to what you said, Trini, why we haven't had the hip hop music crash the billboards, because it's become oversaturated with a bunch of mediocre and outright substantialist shit. Let's just call it for what it is. And that's not being older in a generation that we came up in. It's called, we grew up with my Adidas. We grew up with Down with the King. We grew up with My Melody. We grew up with Yo Bum Rush the Show. We grew up with all of this. So we know what real hip hop is. We know what it's supposed to sound like. We know what the representation means, and we know what it means for us in terms of how we remember it. And you have a lot of these artists that just don't really want to get out there, as long as they can just get out there making music, but not get out there and actually say something profound or world changing. It is the soul. Where did we miss it in terms of getting? Yeah, the thrill is gone. Where did we miss it, King and Trini, in terms of why did we not, or was it just we didn't know where it was going, to where we didn't position our soldiers in the business areas to keep this from happening? What's happening today?
For me, I like what King said earlier about how we put these people in charge of urban music that doesn't look like us or sound like us. They just sustained an internship, and their uncle ran a certain position on the label, and they got the slot, and they don't look like us, sound like us, dress like us, or nothing, but they run urban music. And you walk in the office and they're telling you don't know nothing about hip hop, and then it reminds me of that movie. I forgot the name of it. It was with Taye Diggs and I think Sanaa Lathan, and it was the Hip Hop Dalmatians.
Brown Sugar.
And so, yeah, and it was that's the vibe I get when I listen to a lot of this stuff and I see it and I'm looking at it and I'm like, this has nothing to do with hip hop. This is nothing to do with hip hop music. This has nothing to do with it. I don't know what this is, but this is not hip hop. But I think a lot of like my peers and people a little younger than me, they all don't want to say it because they don't want to look considered old school, or they saying, so they just like, nah, we like hip hop, I respect all these young people doing their thing, like I hear that a lot with 50 Cent and a lot of these dudes, and I'm like, yo, dude, come on, man, Like, tell the truth, man. You know what I'm saying? I'm not being old school. So that's why I always give big up to Kendrick Lamar. Because Dr. Dre don't mess with nobody. He ain't put nobody in the game that don't know the history of hip hop. So everybody he ever dealt with, they love hip hop. And that's why I can say Kendrick Lamar. And that's why I can say Dave East, because Nas put him in the game. He loves hip hop.
Shout out to Harlem.
You know what I'm saying? And that's why I can say The Game, because another one that came under 50 Cent and Dr. Dre. You know what I'm saying? And then I look at Drake, and I look at Drake he comes under Baby, and he comes under Lil Wayne. I can say that. I can say that these certain people, individuals, Nicki Minaj, she comes under the same Baby and Wayne. I could say that because they stay with the hip hop history. They stay with the culture. They know what the music's about. They know that. They love what they do. These other people are sort of like, I'm sorry to say, like NBA players that just, they get an ankle injury and they out for 10 games. They don't even care if it's the playoffs. They don't even care if it's the playoffs. They just there for the glory and the glory and the shine. You know what I'm saying? And so they're not there for the game. They love the game of basketball. They there for the glory and the shine. You know what I'm saying? And so that's what I look at a lot of these new artists are, a lot of them. And then there's a lot of them that are not. I can't say them all, but I said there's a lot of them that are. And that's why we haven't been in the top 40 in 2025, 2026 in hip hop, because the music is garbage. I'm sorry to say, I don't care how y'all feel about it. It's garbage. It's trash. Y'all ain't put out nothing hot. The only ones that's putting out hot stuff are the people I mentioned. Everything else is garbage and trash. And then they're not even marketing it no more. They're not promoting it like you were saying earlier, do a music video. They're not doing none of that no more. Everything is about $1. You know what I'm saying? And YouTube. Like, yo, put out a video, my dude. Like, yo, when you're going to do a single, put out a video with the single. Like, represent the single. You know what I'm saying? Like, let people know that you got a single out. Put it out. Promote it. Talk about it. Just like what actors do with their movies. They out promoting the movie. Promote your video. Promote your single. Put it out. Put the energy behind it. That's what I loved about Cardi B when she did when she put out that last album. She went and put it into CDs now. She's not getting caught up in the algorithm. She's like, yo, nah, y'all ain't gonna keep jerking me. She went to record stores and went and signed her CDs, and they her labels putting out CDs again. That's what they need to start doing, putting out CDs again, man, and sign them. And that way you can see your numbers, you can see your money, you know where it's coming from, and you know what I'm saying? Start putting out CDs again, man. That's what I recommend to all labels, man. If you got artists, put out CDs again. Let's not get caught in this algorithm and you don't know where your music's coming from, how much money you're making and all that. Nah, let's go back to the CDs, man.
Perfect segue, Trini, because now this has become an automated microwave media era where they're trying to say, we're going to say it, we might get banned, but then it ain't going to be the first time we said controversial shit. This is what happens because they sold everybody on that pipe dream, this streaming, because it was easier to get the music out to the masses, which it is. But I'm like, y'all sacrifice that for the fact, like you said, you don't even know how much you're getting paid for. And when you have an album, it's tangible. We talked off air about this. It's tangible. It's in your hands. You know who's involved with it. And with the way stuff be happening on these streams, when stuff gets, if somebody decides they don't like look what happened to YG's Meet the Flockers. And they took that down because they were saying that promoted Asian hate in terms of, when Ice Cube didn't, Celine, when he had the line, because you let a Jew break up my crew. They said that was anti-Semitic. We weren't thinking about that back in 1991. We just looked at this. But you got people out there that are going to try to take that off. If you have the physicals, you can listen to it uninterrupted. You know what I'm saying? But everybody thinks that, yeah, man, go stream that. I'm like, well, yeah, but are you going to get paid for it? And are you that popular that people are going to want to stream it?
I think Snoop kind of like put it all in perspective when he said he had like over 1 billion streams and they sent him a check for like $49,000, and he kind of put a light on. He put a light on that industry, that this social media music industry. He put a light on that, and so that's why I think Congress and everybody else is getting involved with these social media music industries to try to kind of put a better understanding on how the numbers work. But at the end of the day, like I said, Cardi B went and started putting CDs out again. And to me, it's like, and even the labels are not happy. The labels are not happy with the way the numbers are, because they could be getting jerked too. They getting robbed too. So even though they're making profits and great revenue, I still don't know how they're doing it. I guess it's because it's the licensing and royalties and stuff like that. But at the end of the day, what about record sales? What about the sales of actually record sales? You know what I'm saying? So like y'all losing out on probably billions of dollars in record sales because y'all don't know where how the money's coming through. So I mean, go back to CDs. I mean, go back to CDs and wax. You just go back to it. Just add that as part of the part of your revenue thing. Well, okay, we're gonna go back to CDs and wax because we'll know where our money is going. But just put the money back out there. And I'm sure if you put $1 billion back out there, the industry put $1 billion back out there in CDs and distribution and wax, they're gonna see the numbers triple and double, quadruple what they was doing before that. Because now you only dependent on, as far as music views or listens or whatever, is gonna be based on these companies that's like taking advantage of the artists and the labels. So put your music back out there. I mean, I'm just saying, I ain't mad at them. I like streaming. I don't get me wrong. I like streaming. I think it's a good look and everything. It's a good way to promote music and everything. But at the end of the day, I'm with the artists. You know what I'm saying? And I'm with the labels. We gotta do what we gotta do to feed our families and build generational wealth. We want them to eat too, but at the end of the day, they eating off us, but we not eating with them.
That part. You know, and it started becoming a thing because it wasn't that records went out. It's just, it's funny because when you're looking at how they try to change the paradigm of marketing and sales, it's not like people just say, we don't want it anymore. It's just a very covert and quiet calculation move. Did they just stop printing it up as much? And then people just kind of just go by the wayside and just let it happen. They'll try to, but my thing is, if you still have it out there, and Cardi has a special place in our hearts because of her doing the in-store record signing at VIP Records in Long Beach. For those that are listening, go see Uncle Kelvin Anderson out there. He's been there for over 45 years. Great guy. And the store itself is a museum of classics. You will love it if you go there. If you're ever in Long Beach, California, go there. When I saw Cardi do that in-store there, I was like, she gets it. She really gets it. And it's just something to just sit back and have that in your hands, man.
I put in my car. I still got, like, my car's like a 2025 or 2024, something like that. And I still got the CD changer, and I've never used it. And I never used it. I was using satellite radio because I really like satellite radio. Shout out to Sarah's Satellite Radio. Y'all can sponsor over here because I'm just giving y'all a shout out. Y'all can sponsor over here. Yeah, absolutely. I've been listening to y'all. I've been working with y'all. You know what I'm saying? Y'all got a podcast for me, and y'all want to work with my dudes right here, sponsor my dudes right here. Serious Satellite Radio, we here. I play y'all in my car. I don't even use the CD player. So, like, at the end of the day, I used to like having that little packet with the little zipper, and I had all my CDs laid out and everything. I could just put it in the car. You know what I'm saying? It was beautiful.
Yeah. When you think about how the music has changed in terms of the message, because it was so diverse back in the day. We had gangster rap, we had party rap, we had mainstream. When we look at it today, it's so much of everybody dissing the ops, talking about, I'm going to kill you. I'm going to do this to you. The videos it's like, when we look at videos like Michael Jackson's Remember the Time, when we look at Biggie's The Warning, the whole version, those that know this, seen it, y'all know. When you look at Jodeci's Love You for Life, I mean, those were art pieces. The Wu-Tang Clan, Ice Cream, with Raekwon did Ice Cream. That was just a big ass block party, and we loved it. What changed in terms of how artists began to put out their art?
Well, you missed one out. I was at the barbecue grill on this one. It was "Ooh What You Want to Do" on the Down with the King album. Run
Mm-hmm.
DMC, "Ooh What You Want to Do." They
Yeah, can't
introducing
forget
Onyx.
that.
We was in Jamaica Park, right off of Hollis Avenue.
Mm-hmm.
That was another one in the park with the basketball scene and everything, and me on the grill and everything. But my thing is, what I think I go back to Ice Cube on what's that kid name? Bill Meyer, or whatever. What's that dude name? The dude that do politically incorrect.
Bill
Bill
Maher.
Bill Maher. When
Yes,
Ice Cube
sir.
was on Bill Maher's show, he said that I don't know how true it is. Allegedly, this is what he said, that the executives that own the prisons are the same executives that own the record labels. So it was something to think about, because he was like, if you do the research, he said a lot of the record executives that own record labels own the prison system, the private prison system. And it kind of like really like stuck in me. And then I was looking at another aspect of it with, I was reading, it was an article. I don't remember what news program it came from, but it was an article, and it was talking about how a lot of record executives were taking out insurance policies on recording artists, and a lot of these recording artists were dying. So they took out, say they gave them $500,000 up front for the album, whatever, how many albums or whatever the case may be. But then 6 months later, they dead, and they were able to recoup $6 million from the death. You know what I'm saying? So they was like trying to make a correlation between these new artists with these gang related affiliations and killing each other and all of this stuff, and the labels that was signing them. And then I thought about what Ice Cube was talking about as well, with record executives that's promoting gang violence and promoting the nonsense. And they're just not putting out good music no more. They just putting out like gang violence, and it's being promoted by the labels. And that's why a lot of the music is trash, and that's why a lot of they just turning off hip hop heads, and and I don't see how it's like you said. I was trying to figure out how were they able to make money off of this kind of music, and then I thought about it when you were saying earlier about back in the day how you had to put a demo out, and then then the labels had to sign you, and then when they signed you, you had to put a music video out to go with the single and the production and so on. But at the end of the day, it was $1 million. Like if you got $1 million from a label, that was a big situation back in the day.
Yeah.
And then the recoupment of the $1 million, if you promoting it right and got good music and everything, you're gonna make. You sell 1 million copies, or if it go gold, the record label makes plenty of money. So my thing, and especially if a CD was $7.99 or $8.99 or whatever, and go with 500,000 copies, come on, man, you done tripled your money. So I didn't understand. Like that's what I don't understand about corporate greed, because it makes no sense to me. Because when you put numbers in front of anything that's supposed to deal with creativity and talent, it's always going to turn out bad. But they always manipulate the situation where it's always about profit and numbers. Because I've talked to a few labels back in the day and recently, and they like, well, how many likes do they have? I'm like, what?
Yeah, those are the metrics.
How many likes do they have? What are you talking about? Did you not hear the harmony on that hook? Huh? Harmony? What? How many likes do they have? So it's like they're clueless. So that's what we're dealing with today, fellas. That's what we're dealing with now.
Yeah. And when you think about it too, from that aspect, when you look at the hardcore element of it, because there's an intrinsic link between hip hop and street culture, because it came from the street. But when we think about back in the day, when we would listen to artists like, NWA, DJ Quick, Compton's Most Wanted, Cool G Rap, Ice-T, all of them, we heard the tales, but it was never to the point of where we took it seriously, to the point we were going to go out and smoke somebody. It was never like that. We understood it as art. And, even when we interviewed DJ Yella some years back, shout out to him, when we talked about when they did Niggas for Life on 1991. He talked
Yellow.
about how they had, yeah, man. Yeah, great dude, man. That was a bucket list interview for us. When he talked about it, about how they had a bigger budget to do, Niggas for Life, in 1991, that record was over the top. It was. Oh God, if it was released today, oh my goodness. But by the same token, we yeah, we
Yo,
we
King, I
didn't
ain't hear
take
you.
it.
You breaking up.
I was saying you could imagine the think pieces that would have came out just off that album alone.
But
Yes,
we never
sir.
took
That would
you
kill
know,
cancel culture
pertain
all over the globe.
man.
Yep. Yes, sir.
Yeah. But when gang culture in terms of it, because especially with West Coast rap, when it came to prominence, there was a lot of those rappers that were real gang bangers. But the thing was, you either were from California or you knew the culture to know what was really going on. Because a lot of them, there were subtleties in terms of the tape color, the tape case cover, or the album cover, but it was not something that it was like explicitly stated. If you knew the language, you would pick up on it. But if you didn't, you were just listening. Nobody was just dropping like I'm Blood and Crip or Pyru like that back in the day. And now everybody's a lot of rappers, they coming out saying that they openly saying they gang bangers. They say fuck your set, this, that. And I'm like, y'all know what that means when you start talking about the set and the dead homies, right? And the ops. You know what that means.
Right, but
And
like we were saying earlier, to me it was like it's like there's always been gangs since I can remember. It's always
oh
been
yeah,
gangs since I can remember. My brother was with the Seven Crowns and the Seven Skulls, and if you remember that movie, The Warriors, way back in the
yeah,
day, there's always
yeah.
been gangs. But my thing is, it was a
Absolutely,
time
absolutely.
it was a time and a place for that. It didn't cross over into like everyday life on that level. It was like,
Right,
like
right,
especially like
right,
music is supposed to be the way out. It ain't supposed to be the way in.
right.
It's supposed to be the way out.
Exactly.
The
And
music is
that's
the
my
way out of the
point. Like,
hood.
yeah, there was a separation back in the day. Like a lot of those rappers, and we can say this because it's common knowledge. Rest in peace to Easy. He was Kelly Park, Compton Crip. Of course, MC Ren was too. MC8 is Tragnu. DJ Quick is Treetop. YG is Treetop. Um, Dub C is 111. But it's like they they had street rhymes, but they kept the gang culture kind of separate from the music.
That's a good
And like
segue.
you said,
That's a good
yeah,
segue into the Jam Master
they
Jay
sep
situation.
yeah, speak on yeah, there's a lot of speculation about what happened with Jay. It's such a profound loss with him. And there's been a lot of speculation. Wherever you want to start from, Trini, because there's so much to speak on with it. Because I already see we got a part two coming, and that is quite all right. But for the time we got, um, what happened from the beginning to end in terms of where it started and how it all went so tragically wrong?
Well, my thing is like you were just saying about the separation between the streets and the music.
Yes,
I
sir.
think, like you said, with Dub C, who's a friend, and you talk about DJ Quick, and you talk about a lot of the artists today and the artists from the West Side and so on. And there's a lot of artists too from the East Coast that represent those gang cultures as well, but they keep it separate from the music.
Right,
Um,
right.
and I always thought, you can't have one foot in the streets and one foot in the game because they can't they can't cross paths, because if they cross paths, then it's gonna be tragic.
Yes,
Um,
sir.
but my thing was, the way I look at it is, a lot of times, I don't know exactly where you from, T Max and King, and I mean, if y'all from the hoods or from Virginia and wherever else you're from, North Carolina and so on, and New York City and New Jersey, whatever. When you from, when you come up, especially urban or African American or minority, whatever, and you grow up in a community, whether it's middle class or wealthy or maybe not even wealthy or just middle class or lower middle class, you make it out, you always gonna have people you grew up with who always gonna see you, run into you wherever you at, and so on because of who you are now, and they're gonna always want to connect to you even more now. And it could have been the stick up kid from back in the day. It can be the dope kid from back in the day. It could have been a nigga just came home from a body back in the day, but he just runs into you. You going into White Castle, or you going into Burger King, y'all grabbing a bite to eat, and you hop out the cars with your entourage, and you about to run into go get something to eat, and you in the neighborhood, supposed to be visiting your auntie or your mama or something, and you from the hood. You from the neighborhood. They know you. You ain't gonna turn your back on your man because I went to school together. Yeah, ain't your man. Yo, what up, kid? How you, man? How's everything going on with you? Everything's cool, man. Yo, can I talk to you for a minute? And just came home and they got a story or whatever the case may be. And you're a real person. Just because you're successful don't mean you're not real no more. So there's a lot of them that get successful and they just show who they really are. They don't want nothing to do with the hood. They don't want nothing to do with you. But then there's a few of them that's still like, yo, when they see people from the hood, they stop and they talk and they say hi because they don't want to be fake.
Right.
And sometimes, I don't know, that's like Achilles heel because instead of letting your security, like, yo, when we pull up at this Burger King, man, I ain't got no, this is my neighborhood, but I'm hungry, but I don't want to talk to nobody. You have to be that way sometimes. And then there's,
right.
even though, especially because you are a heartfelt person. But then there's the heartfelt people that be like, nah, that's corny. That's fake. I can't be that corny nigga. So when you pull up and they can see you, yo, kid, yo, I seen you on such and such the awards the other day. Yo, what's up, man? How you? And y'all talking and you kicking it. And next thing you know, can I talk to you for a minute? So it's either he gonna be begging you for something, he gonna ask you for something, or he gonna ask you to compromise yourself for something.
And that's always the inherent element. This is the, where Biz Marquee talked about the vapors were one thing, but then there's the other V of venom where people are going to poison you with their presence. And that is something that I think a lot, in the name of keeping it real and being authentic, people get caught up in those calamities of trying to, keep certain company. We will say this 25 million toes down. You do not have to apologize for being successful. Because whatever endeavor you engage in, whether music, whether being an athlete, being a business person, if you grinded it out, if you persevered, you triumphed, and you ultimately become successful, the success is not yours alone because nobody does it alone. We can't do this show alone. We give props to everyone who's helped us.
Absolutely.
When you are blessed to make it to a certain point, you have to make that understanding of who legitimately was there with you and supported you, who helped you out before you had to ask. The ones that believed in you at times when you didn't even believe in yourself. But
As like Nipsey Hussle said, God rest him. Everybody can't go.
Yeah,
Avengers
you
just
can't save
trying to
everybody.
you can't save everybody. You can't, it's like this. You can't have everybody in your house because what furniture is going to be gone when they leave. So it's with Jay, with his situation, we don't want to get too deep, because we don't want to put too much out there that maybe shouldn't be said, but maybe what can be said. when certain people started coming around, is you being a observing it. When did you realize this could possibly go bad?
Okay, so
Take your time. Take your time.
I'm a kind of take you on a little ride. So
We buckled up.
1982, 83, 1981, 82.
Yes, sir.
My parents, 1981, my parents divorced. My father stayed in the house. My mother moved to 40 Projects. 40 Projects
Mm-hmm.
is where Onyx is from, Lost Boys, Garrett, Sonny Black. We got a lot of Vic Damone, Grandmaster Vic, 50 Cent, Supreme Team, Fat Cat, a lot of people from that part of town. And when I moved there in '81, that was like the crack era just opened up, like full throttle, 100 miles an hour. And so on the weekends, I would go to Hollis back to spend time with my father and spend the time in the neighborhood with the kids I was raised with. Then I grew up in 40, right? So I make sure I make that distinction. I was raised in Hollis and grew up in 40. So I would go around and I would see Daryl when I got to Queens, and I would hang out with Daryl and so on and so forth. And then as time went on, the success and everything that came with it. And when I started seeing things getting a little different was when, because his business partner and a friend of mine, Randy Allen, you probably seen it in that 2 turntables and the mic and all of that, and you seen him. He was featured in my Netflix project, Who Killed Jam Master Jay, the remastered version.
Mm-hmm.
I seen him on 165th Street in the mall. Now they changed the whole thing up over there. Now they getting in the condos and all that. But anyway, I seen him in 165th Street Mall, and me and him talked. And I was working with artists. I was working with a few recording artists, and I asked Joe, aka Rev Run, aka DJ Run, about a recording studio. I was looking. I need to work with an artist. I was wondering if he could put me up on a recording studio, and he put me up
Mm-hmm.
on a recording studio. With this dude named Mind. It was Mind Management. It was on Rockaway Boulevard. He put me up with him, and then I'll go to Rockaway Boulevard, and I bring my artists over there and work over there. And it was way out the way. And I was telling Randy Allen about this because I see him in the mall, and I'm like, Dad, Randy, like, why you and Jay don't open up y'all studio, man, to the public? Let people come in there and work and stuff like that, and y'all make money off it. He said I would if I had somebody to run it for me. And I'm like, word? And him and Jay did Onyx together, and they made millions off of Onyx. So he was writing these Jay's business partner with the Onyx and JMJ Records. And so he said he would if I came to manage it for him. And that's how it became Run DMC, Jam Master Jay and Randy Allen's. I ran their JMJ Records recording studio for them as the manager because of him. And he brought me to talk to Jay, and Jay was like, "Of course, Trin toured with us, been on the road with us. Trin, of course, I'd love to have Trini run shit for us over here." And so I didn't smoke weed, and I drank a little bit, but I ain't smoked no weed. And what I told y'all earlier, all that stuff was past. That was just experimental shit. I was done with that.
Right.
So I'm a grown ass man now with kids and all that. So they like the fact that I didn't do anything. I sip a little liquor some every now and then, but I didn't do nothing else. And I was very about my business, always been about my fucking business. And so I took everything seriously. And so when I started realizing that things was getting different was when I'm running the studio, they told me, Trent, you got carte blanche. One of their main problems was family members coming up there and getting on the phone, going to the office, get on the phone and calling all over the country and all that. And they get the phone bills, $2,000 or $3,000, and they just gone and they come and eat and leave food on the couches and under the couch, and just people, this family members mostly be the ones that come with the destruction. And so they was like, yo, Trent, you got carte blanche. Do whatever you feel you need to do. You got our back. So a lot of times I just run family members out and I'm telling Jay, I'm telling Randy, get the fuck out of here. I don't give a fuck who you tell. Get the fuck out of here. You ain't coming here. You ain't bringing nothing to the table. Fuck out of here. It's a place of business. So I ran them all out. And so what I realized was when I left, I moved to Atlanta. Like I told you, I told Jay earlier, I told you Jay was on the Trinitron and I told him I was going to Atlanta. My baby moms was down there and I was going down there and I think I had my second child born and I said, I'm gonna move down to Atlanta. And when I realized, because I stayed in contact with them, when I realized the situation was getting ugly was because of the fact that God rest Jam Master Jay and God rest Randy Allen's younger brother Teddy, he had to pull a gun on Jay's cousin, allegedly, and the kid Trinidad, the kid that's part of the murder. He had to pull a gun. He had to pull a gun on them because they came in there with prostitutes, allegedly, and came in there with illegal credit cards, and they was up in there and they was rolling drugs and bagging drugs up and all of that in the studio because they knew Randy and Jay was at that conference in Puerto Rico, where everybody go every year, the music conference, and they knew they was out of town at the time, so they come up there. Now and they know I'm going too because I ran them out of there. I never met the Trinidad kid, but I damn sure ran his cousin Fonz out of there, and that's not allegedly, that's the truth. And so now they know I'm not there. I'm in Atlanta. So now he bringing drug dealers up there and bullshit and all kind of problems to like it's a clubhouse, but actually it's a place of business. And so now I'm not there. So God rest Teddy, he had to pull a hammer on them to get them the fuck out of there because they up there with prostitutes and dirty credit cards and packing up drugs in there and all of that. He ran them out of there while they was in Puerto Rico. And this was around the time the police said that the tape in the property in the studio was tampered with. This is around that same time.
Right.
And so, allegedly. So my thing at the end of the day was this is around the time, to answer your question, this was like a week before Jay was taken from us. This is around the time I started realizing, because all the information was coming back to me because I stayed in contact. And around the time everything started coming back to me, that I knew that something serious was about to go down.
This is something, once again, we can only speak on this because this has been documented. This is known. This is similar to what Dr. Dre went through at Death Row and why he ended up leaving, because he said this wasn't about work anymore and there was too much other shit going on that shouldn't be going on. When you're dealing with, because you're the HNIC of this shit when you were there, so you understood the priority of we're here to profit and not, be fooling around. What do artists have to understand, that they have to make that separation, and that even though you were the enforcer, and a damn good one at that it has to start with them too saying that, no, we not doing this.
Well, one thing you have to do is you really, because of the nature of the business, and what I mean by that is, like we was talking about earlier, that our concept comes from the streets, like literally. So, but we're not really we're not really talking gangster rap and all of that. That wasn't really. I mean, even though it is a part of it is a part of our culture, but at the end of the day, it's not what we was trying to convey. What we was trying to convey was there's a way out of it. We already know there's a gangster stuff, but we talking about the way out of it. If I do this like this, and I rap to this, and I tell this pretty girl, I got that fat old car, and I got the money, I got the diamonds, I got the things you want. Come and get it. That's what I'm talking about. I already know there's shootouts. I already know there was a shootout around. That's not what I'm talking about. I'm talking about there's a way out. And so, but even though there's a way out, there's still that other part. And so that other part is what you have to separate yourself away from. Because not everybody have 99% of the dudes that's rapping about thug stuff and gangster stuff is not gangsters or thugs. Because a 5-year-old can pull a trigger. I done seen on the news. A little 5-year-old kid shot his teacher. You know, so shooting somebody is not gangster. Actually, going around the corner with your knuckle game is real gangster. Like, yo, we got a problem. Let's go around the corner where nobody can see us and let's get it in. Shooting somebody, anybody can do that. So that's not what we was trying to convey. We was trying to convey there's a way out of away from that. There's a way from drugs. There's a way from poverty. There's a way from this. Let's do it this way. And we can have fun at the same time and have a fly girl and a fly car. So if they know how to separate the two, they've reached success. However, are the record labels and all the people in charge that's going to give them the deal, or do they have to just go like Chance the Rapper and Soulja Boy and just go independent? And even like Drake when he first popped off, they was basically independent. So my thing is maybe y'all might have to go that way because maybe the labels do not want to hear that. Maybe the labels want you to talk about 9mm and bullets and guns allegedly. You know what I'm saying? They want you to talk about killing each other and all of that because maybe they're trying to destroy the culture allegedly. I don't know. But I know that all the garbage is out there. And everybody that's really successful in the game is getting away from the labels and they doing their own things independently. You know, so I don't know. This is all alleged. But however, I'm saying if you really want to be independent, talk to Chance the Rapper, talk to Soulja Boy, talk to Drake, and try to figure it out. Other than that, I mean, you know, maybe people have to take a stand against the labels allegedly and be like, yo, I don't want to do that. This is what I'm doing. This is what I'm feeling. This is how I'm feeling my music. I don't talk about guns and drugs and all that. Either you have to talk about guns or drugs, it seems like, or you got to be like gay as hell. That's what it seemed like.
And that's facts. When it's been some years since we've lost Jay. The impetus, obviously he was the impetus for your documentary. How important was it for you to set the record straight? Tell us about, and I know we thank you so much for bringing that documentary because we know that was some shit to go through to revisit all of that. How did you have the strength to bring it together to not only tell the story, but to bring honor to his name and to really let people know this is the truth?
Well, to me, King and T-Max, I had ample opportunity to do interviews and to talk to people since October 30th, 2002 to talk about what happened and so on and so forth. However, his immediate team, we were all literally put in shock. So we were literally bumping into each other after he's passed because he was the leader of the team. And then we were around each other more than we were around our own families. And he was to me, he ain't no punk. He wasn't no punk. Straight street. But at the time, he was a small businessman and he cared and he loved people and he loved his family and he was a good person. So for him to be slaughtered like that was literally. I mean, I'm shaking right now even thinking about it. It was
I understand.
It was tragic. It was beyond tragic for us because you know certain people when you're from the hood and certain people be like, yo, then they gonna lay that nigga down eventually. He's a knucklehead. And then you got good people you be like, yo, what? You know what I'm saying? And he was one of those what? So when I was getting offered to do, it's ironic you mentioned BET, they wanted to do interview with me and different Fox 5 and Newsday and all these different places and people. I just couldn't do it because I wasn't in the mindset to do it. And that's kind of how I wound up working for Russell Simmons with Fat Farm and Kamora Lee when they were married, when he was married to her, and they had a Fat Farm and Baby Fat and it was popping 100 miles an hour. I wound up working for them because Russell seen that I gotta do something with him because we was all running it. He knew we was all part of Jay's team, and he was like, look, I gotta do something with him, help him get his mind off of these things. And I talked to him, and I talked to Joe as well. And Joe was like, well, that's Trin. Come on, Russ. Yeah, yo, put him in fat form. Let him, we was all on a 3-way, and Russell pulled me in the fat farm at the time because I was running into the wall. I didn't know what to do. I started. I got a book agent and was starting to write my memoirs. I started acting, doing got an agent, and started doing film. I was just trying to get my mind off of music and getting my mind off of because I was literally Jay's DJ manager, and that was a full-time job because he was so big in the game and everybody wanted him. And I was working on endorsements for him with Coca-Cola and Ralph Lauren, and I was so many different things I was working on for him, and it was like a full-time job, 24/7. And so when he was taken from us, I didn't know what to do with myself. So I just started like, hey, why don't I just write a book? Hey, why don't I just do some acting? Hey, and so Russell was like, yo, Trin, come over here. And I started working for Russell. It was it was I don't know. It was people wanted to interview me, and I just didn't want to do anything. And 2018, I was talking with 2017, I would say. I was talking with Randy Allen, and I was like, look, we need to honor Jay's memory because a lot of stuff's been coming out over the years about him being a drug dealer and him doing this and him doing that and so on. And he owed taxes and so on and all these different things, this negative stuff, this sensationalism. And we knew directly that 90% of that was untrue. So I said, why don't we just call a couple of places, and why don't we just do our own documentary about his accomplishments and about the things we were working on. Because I went with him to see when Queen Latifah had her own TV show. She had like a talk show. I don't know, y'all remember that back in the day?
We remember.
Yeah.
We remember.
Yeah. So I went with her. So I went to her office was right across the street, and Shakim is like her business partner. And we went to see Shakim and sit down with Shakim, and Jay had a script because Jay wanted to get into films. He wanted to move into the film and game, and he was going to leave the music to Randy and myself, the J&J music stuff, and he was going to go into films. And so he went to sit down with Shakim and Queen Latifah about a script he had, and they was working on it together at the time. And there was a lot of other things he wanted to do. And so that's what I wanted to bring to light. I'm like, I don't want to talk about, the death. I want to talk about his life and his accomplishments and things we were working on. And of course, we have to talk about the death, but I'm just saying, like, there were so many things he was about that the world don't know. His own kids don't know. You know what I'm saying? So that's when I stepped to Netflix, and Netflix was like, yo, we would love to do that, but however, we already gave $1 million to da da da. Like, really? Yeah, why don't you work with da 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 and we can build a relationship? So we talked about it and discussed it, and I said, okay, I would do it because I wanted to build a relationship with Netflix. So that's the only reason why I did it. But this is 2018. You know what I'm saying? So all these years in between that, I just couldn't sit in front of nobody and talk about Jay because he meant that much to me as a friend and a mentor and an older brother. I couldn't, and the way he was slaughtered, I just couldn't see myself talking to nobody about it because I don't feel they would understand.
Understood.
And what would it mean to you? What would it mean to you? What do you care? Why? You know what I'm saying? So it had to make sense for me. And so I'm like, Jay was a businessman first. And he'd be like, yo, go get that deal with Netflix. Like he's in my head. Yo, go make that work. Build that relationship. You know what I'm saying? So that's why I did the Netflix thing. And that's why we did it. And we were able to establish a relationship with Netflix.
And, but to hear the reverence, the love, to push through, even with that pain that is so visible, but you still prospered and honored his legacy. You are the epitome of a friend and a brother. And you do his legacy proud in terms of how his name will never die and how it will forever be immortal with what you have done in your incredible endeavors and are still doing. This interview here is something that you have really articulated so much in these 2 hours that have gone so fast, and we're still in overtime. That's all right though.
Man,
But just to let people know, because so many times we see the celebrity of people, but we don't understand these are people first. These are families, men. These are brothers. These are uncles. These are cousins. These are sons. These are fathers. These are cherished beings in this experience of this life we have on that planet Earth. Um, and in this age of shameless sensationalism and smearing of character, we need more individuals like yourself, Trini, to tell the truth and to make
that-
sure that the worst elements, while they're there, are acknowledged, but the legacy and the love is never forgotten by the people who made such an impact on your life personally and for us as fans and children of the culture. Um, there's not much more that we can say is you keep doing what you're doing.
absolutely. And man, and on top of that, we just doing our part with this show to recognize the pioneers, to recognize the legends, and give people like you the platform to really give that truth out. That's why you're pretty much needed. And going to the segue before we going away, let everybody know what you got going on with the artists you involved with currently. And do you have any projects y'all working on or y'all dropping that for us to take note of?
Yeah, King, I appreciate both of y'all. And y'all keep doing what y'all doing. I only see y'all rising to the top. Anytime y'all ever want me to come back, I'm here for y'all.
Oh, we got
Um,
that part two lined up because we need to know more about, you get into acting and the producing part. But like King said, tell us about anybody you got, any artists that you know. We love to have them on the show.
yeah, I've been working with an artist called Terrell Matheny. He's like what made me I was working on a TV show, and a friend of mine who's a film director, writer, film director, he executive producer. We were on a TV show together with Eric Roberts, Julia Roberts' brother, and Monifa from she was down with Uptown with Heavy
The
D.
singer, yeah.
Yeah, we were on a TV show together, and he introduced this young brother to me. And like I told y'all earlier, after Jay, I've been trying to get away from the music. I want to do other things, and I'm just so disenchanted with music. I even stopped wearing Adidas for a while, man, because I just was so disenchanted after my big brother got slaughtered like that. I just wanted to get away from all of that, and so he introduced the young man. He was like, "Yo," he didn't introduce him to me actually. He said, "Yo, you know what that dude is over there, right?" And that's how the young man came to me. And what made me, like years, I didn't want to deal with no artist, nothing. And what made me want to deal with this particular young brother is because I looked at Lauryn Hill and Missy Elliott were the only two artists that I could say off the top of my head, y'all tell me if I'm wrong, that could rap and sing convincingly on the same, as an artist. And
Missy.
Missy and Lauryn Hill can rap and sing.
Missy too.
Yeah. Those are the only two I ever
Right.
known in the industry that could do that. So this young
And
man
Doja Cat.
happened
Don't
to be
forget
able
Doja
to.
Cat.
No, well, this is before her though. So
Oh,
this
right,
is
right,
the
right, right.
only
Got
this is the only young man that could do that. And I was like, wait, hold up.
you.
He rapped and he sung for me and stood in front of me, a cappella and everything. And I was like, wait, hold up. So that's why I was like, and both of them, I'm a big fan of Missy Higgs and I'm a big fan of Lawrence. I got to tour with Lauren. I don't think I ever met Missy, but I got to tour with Lauren in the Fugees. But however, so my thing was like, whoa. So I had to work with him. And so I did like at least 6 songs with him, and he put him. He had an album. He has an album out called Bipolar. It's on all the social music platforms, called Bipolar. And I did like 6 songs on there. I got one called Repairman. I did a track with the producer from Intro, my man Buddy, and we got another one on there called Rubber Band with the rapper LPs. And we got another one on there called Angel. That was influenced by Lauryn Hill doing MTV Unplugged. I don't know if y'all remember that, but when they used to have artists go on there MTV and do Unplugged, and
yeah,
she
we
was
remember
like,
when Jay-Z did it with the Roots.
yeah. So Angel came from that when I seen Lauryn Hill do it, and I'm listening to Raheem Devon, and I'm like, damn, I would love to do like an Unplugged type song. So that's where Angel came from. And then we got another one called I Don't Care. And it's more like an international kind of vibe song. And then we got another one on there called Grammy Status. Because every time I used to talk to the young man, I was like, yo, we're not doing nothing unless it's Grammy status. Anything we do, it got to be Grammy status. And so he was like, yo, all right, Trin, I got it. And I'm like, you know what? We should do a whole album for you and call it Grammy Status. And so that's why we created the single Grammy Status. And I've been trying to get it to the Grammy Awards and let them license it for 30 years or something, because it could be they plug song, you know what I'm saying? But to open up their shows and all that stuff, because it's an incredible song. And so those were the songs I believe, and Rubber Band. Yeah, those are the songs I did on his Bipolar album. And they all phenomenal songs. I don't know if y'all have any. I think I sent some to y'all. But I didn't know if y'all never got back to me. Let me know if y'all liked them or not. But however, and there's other artists. I'm always looking for new artists, and I'm writing. I just finished the movie script. It's a thriller horror drama, and Hollywood is looking at it. They want me to do it. Bloomhouse and a couple other people are looking at me for this film, and I also want to do they asked me to write my memoirs, to tell my life story. And then they want to turn it into a film. So these are the things I've been working on lately.
Okay.
That's
So
what
we're
it
gonna
is,
have
man.
to
You know, we right behind you every step of the way.
absolutely, and we're gonna have you on for part 2, because we gotta talk about navigating Hollywood, especially in terms of where Black entertainment is right now and what the market is for it, in addition to your artists. We'll talk off air, of course. Hit me and King about your artists, and we're gonna definitely try to schedule something. No, not try. We will. We're gonna schedule something to have him on as well.
No question. I think I sent King. I sent you the music, right?
I gotta check again on my phone. I've been pretty much gone most of the day, but
Okay.
I'm gonna definitely check it out.
All right. And yeah, y'all get back to me. Let me know, and yeah, we can schedule something else.
All right, no doubt. So yeah, man, we definitely appreciate you taking the time to join us. It's been a dope show. And we're gonna definitely get that part 2 down the line, man. You have any shout outs you want to give out?
I'm just gonna give a shout out to Run and D, because they saved my life, and Jam Master Jay. And I'm gonna give a shout out to Russell Simmons. I'm gonna give a shout out to everybody that ever supported me and loved me and guided me along the way, because I know it's been a rough ride, and I know I was a hard-headed kid. But if it wasn't for Run DMC and Jam Master Jay, I probably would be dead or in jail.
Hey, he was an he was an angel he was an angel to you on earth, and he's still watching today, supporting you and rooting for you all the way, man. You know, some supermen don't wear capes, but they're still phenomenal in their achievements and their impact regardless.
100. And I give a shout out to all my kids too, man. All my beautiful children. God bless me with, and my beautiful 2 granddaughters.
The legacy lives on, lives strong, and will always live long.
God bless you, brothers, man. Thank you for having me.
No doubt, man.
We love you, man. God bless you. Our
man.
best to you and your family, man. Thank you.
Thank you.
All right.
All right,
So on that
King,
note,
take
we
us
are
out of
out of
here.
here. We thank everybody once again for tuning in. We're definitely gonna be back with y'all in due time. Peace out.
And we out. Peace.